Good afternoon and welcome to this week's The Double 15 Minutes. So we are now live and we are ready to go with this week's show. The 14th of March, you know what, I'm losing track of days. Yes, it is the 14th of March. And before we do anything else, happy Mother's Day to all of the beautiful mums out there and the aunts who play a huge part in raising their nieces and nephews, and also to the dads out there who are pulling double shifts. So happy Mother's Day to all. And let's not forget the teachers, because I do think teachers play a huge part in the development of our children. And you know, we forget how important they are. We just seem to think that they are there just to teach our children, but we don't realise that actually they're there to nurture them, to help them grow, and to help them develop in their confidence. And so, yeah, talking about that, so we've got an amazing guest, truly inspirational. So I see Nehal's joined us. Hi Nehal, thank you for joining us today. So we've got a really truly inspirational guest on today, Mital Thanki, who is a teacher, a philanthropist, very altruistic, and an entrepreneur that has got an amazingly successful business, but also really big future plans that we're really excited to talk about. But before I bring her on, let's see, how is everybody doing? How was the first week back for your kids today, mums? How did you feel about them going back last Monday? You know, were you missing them quite a lot, or was it was it a relief to have the time back to yourself? And how's the first week been for them? Have they found that they are back in happy places? Because I know a lot of mums that I've been speaking to have said that their children, although being resilient, were really suffering from not having the interaction with their friends. And I think we forget how important having interaction with people really is. And then the injection. So the UK seems to be doing really well with getting the COVID injection out there, looking at the latest figures, and we seem to have got to about 22.5 million. And I'm really pleased to say I am one of those 22.5 million that has had her first vaccine. So I actually had the AstraZeneca Oxford one. Now, I know there's been a lot in the press recently saying, oh, it's a terrible one to have, and, you know, oh, it's too many side effects. Well, actually, the thing is, with any vaccine, you're going to have a group of people that are going to react adversely to any vaccine. There are people who will react to paracetamol. That's no reason to not actually get the vaccine. What I can say with me, what side effects have I had? Well, nothing really, other than I was a little bit tired the day I had the injection, and a little bit sleepy the next day, bit of a headache, but not too much, nothing ominous, and yeah, a bit of a bruised arm. But other than that, you know what, I've been absolutely fine, touch wood. I know others that have had the injection, the same injection, the AZ one, have been sick for a few days or a week. We're all going to react differently. It's like, you know, one size doesn't fit all. And it's like a diet, it's like anything. It's your body is going to react differently to the different chemicals. But what I would say is, let's all be grateful that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So April the 12th, we can all get to the beautician. So actually those of us women that need our eyebrows doing will be able to get out there and do it, get our hair cut. May will be opening a little bit more, and June the 21st is the day I think we're all on countdown to. But enough of my voice. So obviously Sai Priya has joined us. Sai, thank you so much for joining. And without further ado, let's bring Mital on. Just to say, Mital, like I said, is a teacher, a tutor, and she runs a academy called the Spark Academy, which is a tutoring service developed to help children. But rather than me go into it, let's bring Mital on so she can talk more about her amazing organisation.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Rupa.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And Mital, you know, I was really excited about having you on for the show because, you know, I think, you know, this we had a conversation about this a few months ago, and since then I'd be like, right, okay, I want to get her on. I want to get her on. I want to talk to her because for me, you are the next generation of powerhouse women that are actually, inspiring the younger generation to really reach their potential.
That's very kind of you to say, Rupa. I think, to be honest with you, the place where I'm coming from is just to make sure that all the children that we have the opportunity to teach, they have the best opportunities to a bright future. So whatever that means to them, whatever success means to them, we want to help them along their journey. And that's with well-being, that's with the academia aspect as well. So it's about providing something that's very holistic to make sure we get them to where we want to be, and being along on the journey with them is an amazing feeling.
Well, I can imagine, because there is no greater feeling, is there, than when you've actually helped someone and see the smile on their face because they are achieving something that they didn't think was possible, and that's amazing to be able to do that.
Honestly, Rupa, I think the most amazing thing is, and I've been doing this now for the past sort of 11 years, and now I'm in a position where I have children. Well, I still call them children. They're not children anymore. I have my former students connecting with me on LinkedIn and telling me all the things that they're up to. And, it's such an amazing thing to see that progress. We normally get to see the kids right at the beginning when they're feeling really unnerved, they're anxious, they're not confident, they're feeling like their doors are closed, and seeing them on that journey of progression and them starting to start believing in themselves is so fulfilling. And when I get messages like, hey Mital, it's been such a long time, really miss our chemistry lessons. These are chemistry lessons we did 7 years ago, but I really miss them. And by the way, I've done this. And I've seen so many students now, help on the front line, especially in this pandemic. They are superheroes. These guys, these kids have gone on to achieve so much and to help humanity. I mean, for me, that's everything, and I think, wow, we're definitely doing something that's changing lives, and they're going on to change lives, and it's just a ripple effect. So very fortunate to be in this position, I think.
Well, you say, you're fortunate, and you are, and that's a beautiful way of looking at it. But actually, you forged ahead with this, because Spark Academy, you started that in 2009. So tell us a little bit more about what prompted you to start this.
So there was a couple of things. I was at university of Leicester, and I was doing my undergraduate degree. Whilst I was at university, I was working in a bank, in a call center. And the 2008 recession hit. So that meant, okay, my call center job had to go. And that was fine. But I thought, wow, who's going to pay for this car? It was honestly, that was my first car, but it was the love of my life at that time. And I wanted to drive around all the time. So I thought, well, I need to do something. What skills do I have? And I thought, right, okay, do you know what? I'm going to start tutoring. Let me tutor. And so I thought, let me tutor chemistry. And so actually, I remember printing out these leaflets that I made on PowerPoint, distribute them to about sort of 200,000 homes in Leicester on foot myself. And out from that, there was about, one or two people who called me and said, could you tutor my child, please? And we're still, to this day, really great friends. I've seen their children grow and do amazing things. One's become an optometrist, the other one an actress. They've done so well. But yeah, it just started from that. And then there was more parents who are asking. And then it got to a point where it was like, I can't do all of this by myself. So whilst I was in my final year, I should have been writing my dissertation, but I got sidetracked. I procrastinated. This is the one thing I say to my students not to do. I saw this advert in the library that says, start your own business. And here you can access a £2,000 grant. And it was a competition. Yeah. And so whilst I should have been writing my dissertation, I wrote a business plan and a grant application for £2,000. And that's how it happened. And I finally got through to the competition. I won, got the funds. And then it was about starting up an academy in Oadby, which I did. So I used a lot of that for rent and just equipment, tables and chairs. And then, the first Spark Academy in Oadby opened in 2011. And then 2013, I was still working in school. So by that point, I finished my PGCE and worked in schools for a few years. And then I went full-time into Spark because it was my passion. It's my baby. It's everything. It means a lot to me. And I thought, I just want to work with small groups. And I want to do things. I want to experiment with education. And I want to sort of utilize a methodology that I'm really that I really believe in. So this whole holistic and well-being and academic approach using research, because I come from a science background, very research-driven, very I believe in methodology, very logical, but at the same time, I've got this really odd hippie side to me that really believes in sort of well-being and sort of spirituality and that sort of thing. So it's about bringing all those things together and helping kids in the best way possible. So it's been a bit of a journey, but it's great.
But it sounds amazing, and and obviously, Mital, it's like your enthusiasm is actually so infectious, because I'm like sitting here with a massive smile on my face, and I am a naturally smiley person. But I mean, literally, my cheeks are hurting from smiling. How you're talking, because the passion is clear. So we've had a few people joining us. So we've had Nikhil Thanki joining us, saying, "Hey, Mital Thanki." He's saying, "We are so proud of you." Stacey Bates is watching. Hey, Stacey. Chandra Bhagat is watching. Councillor Britti Joshi is on, and she said, "You were wonderful with my boy, Manish," which you tutored him as well, and he had amazing results. And for those watching, Councillor Joshi is my sister, and she's talking about nephew, who I think you helped him really develop in his confidence, which was amazing to watch. And he's gone on, to get himself, a really good grade in his law degree, and he's doing well. And we've had Mina saying, "Proud of you, Mick. You have come so far, and that all goes down to your hard work, dedication, excellent team behind you, and of course, blessings." And Mina's also saying she feels your passion for teaching. And do you know what, Mital? It's like literally your enthusiasm is infectious. It's just so amazing. And Raj Moda, who actually facilitated the meeting between us, this says, "Hey Bo, hey Raj," and Cypria is saying, "Paving the way for our future generations. Salute to you."
Oh, thank you, Sam.
Mital, I think, because that's the thing. So here's the question. Did you finish your dissertation then?
So, sorry, I didn't quite catch that, Rupa.
Did you finish your dissertation?
Oh, yes, I did. Absolutely. I got a first in my dissertation as well. And it was because it was down to the fact that my dissertation was based on sort of teaching and teaching sciences. And that's really, that's the reason why I did well in it, to be honest with you, is because it was something I was really passionate about. So, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those, because we are actually broadcasting across not only Facebook Live, but LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So if you are watching through any of the other two platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube, please drop in any messages or any questions you've got for Mital, and we will ask Mital to answer them, and just let us know where you're watching from. And for those of you who aren't in the UK, Mital, can you just explain what the PGCE actually is?
Yeah, so it's a postgraduate certificate in education. So there's quite a few different routes now to go into teaching. But back in my day, there were, it was the traditional sort of PGCE route, which could be done in two ways. You could go into university and study for a whole year, just the pure theory element. But what I chose to do was, I feel that I'm better learning whilst I'm working. So I was working in the school and directly applying my PGC to that. So I was doing both. I think it was a very interesting year. And then after your PGC, you've got to do your NQT year. So that's the most challenging year, I'd say. If you can get through your NQT, you can get through anything.
And what exactly is sorry, did you say NQT?
Yeah. NQT is a newly qualified teacher. Yeah. So that's to get to that, you need to sort of, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot that you learn. And to be fair, in that whole year, you get a bigger timetable. You have a lot more sort of autonomy with the way that you run your classes. So yeah, it's definitely a challenging experience, but one that really turns you into a robust teacher. And I was very grateful for the time that I had and the students that I got to teach in school, because it really helped me to understand different backgrounds, helped me to understand the way to communicate with people from different backgrounds. It was very important, because before I went into teaching, I had this really weird, this strange idea of teaching in my head. And because everyone has a very individual experience of education. So school for you, Rupa, would have been very different to school for me. The experience might have been different. And so, I thought generally that all kids are generally really well behaved and really motivated and really want to learn and, have a passion for the subject that you teach. And actually, I remember on my first day when I taught, I realized very quickly that it's going to be really hard to try and change everybody, because I went in thinking I'm going to change so many people's lives and I'm going to be able to help so many kids and I'm going to be able to do so much. And actually accepting the fact that, sometimes it's going to be very difficult to be able to do that. It's not going to be everyone, but you know what? It's okay that there's just a few that you'll be able to change. It's still better than nothing. And I think that was one of the most hard-hitting aspects for me when I was working in school. I just felt, I really want to help you. I really want to do this, but I feel like my wings are cut, or certain things I was allowed to do at school and wasn't allowed to do. So that's another reason why I really felt the need to sort of set my own thing up, so I could do it my way and do it in a way that's very holistic. And yeah, I mean, that's one of my main reasons for Spark.
And that's the beauty of it, though, isn't it? Because it actually, the reason you are probably doing as well as you are with Spark, and because there are some really big, exciting projects you're working on, which we'll come to later on in the show. It's that enthusiasm, and you're right. You can't change everybody's view on education, but with your focus and the way you run things, and I can imagine you as a teacher as well, you probably got the enthusiasm for get the enthusiasm up in the children to just follow their path, irrespective of whether it was academia or whether it was more vocational, because I think one of the things that we as humans tend to do is we put a lot of emphasis on one thing or another, and you'll find, you might find in different communities there's different focus on the different aspects. So I think within the Asian community, the focus is so deeply ingrained in education, and it's education, education, education. It doesn't matter about anything else. Education is first and foremost. And within a different community, it's about, no, you follow your heart, you follow your happiness, and it's finding that balance, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I see it all the time. And essentially what I say is that it's really important to sort of understand. It's hard to say, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, but to understand what your child really wants, what they're passionate about. Sometimes it's quite difficult. I mean, some people might say, well, my child is passionate about art, but there's not much of a career in it, so we need that balance. So what do you do? So it's things like that. It's finding that balance. But I always say, when it comes to picking your A-levels, when it comes to picking your GCSEs, pick the subjects you are solely passionate about. Because if you're passionate about a subject, you're not going to have to put all that effort into trying to learn about it in the first place. That's the biggest hurdle. The biggest hurdle is, how do I motivate myself to sit down and learn it? And that's what I say, it's sometimes with GCSEs and A-levels, it's all about picking the things you love, you enjoy. You're going to always have to do your maths, English and science. That's a given, right? There's core subjects. But all the other subjects that you choose things that you love, because you're going to be successful in it. With A-levels as well, what I see a lot is a lot of kids picking sciences for the wrong reasons, and they may not actually be into the sciences. I see it a lot, all the time, and I'm thinking, you know what, I know you're not enjoying this right now, and this is like a really painful experience for you, and it's just trying to make that better for them, and it's quite hard if they're not already motivated to do well in it. So what I try and focus in on is what's the end goal. Okay, this is something that we've got to do in the middle. Okay, you've picked these subjects now. It's too late to drop them.
Yeah.
But what is the end goal? So we sit down, we think about what are the possibilities for the future. And sometimes they may not know what they want to do. I mean, they're 16, 17. It's very difficult to make a life choice. I mean, at 16, 17, I never would have thought I would have done an MBA. I would have never thought I would have studied whatever I had. And actually, just exploring options is important. Having some form of pathways is essential.
Yeah.
But not to forget that actually life is full of learning. Lifelong learning is essential. There might be something you'll want to pick up later on in your life. It's never too late to learn.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids put a lot of pressure on themselves or have pressure on them because they feel, right, if they don't make it now, that's it, they're a failure.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I felt that when I was younger. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. Didn't have that from anybody external. It was just me. So I can see that. And it's like, no, you have infinite possibilities. You have infinite opportunities.
Yeah.
So let's work through that.
And I think, we were talking about this, and I'll go, we've just had a couple of other comments, so I'll sort of like go into them in a minute. I think a lot of it is also generational, because I look at sort of like my generation, my sister's generation, you had the choice of doing, prior to the GCSE, it was the O levels and then the A levels, but, or you had your CSEs. So actually nobody was made to feel, inadequate. It's like you either did your O levels or you did your CSEs. Or actually you'd just get your English and maths to make sure you had the basic, and then you'd go into a youth training scheme. So there were loads of different opportunities and options. And we're talking back in the 80s when I was at school. So, even though there was that, the academic group of kids, and then the in-between group of kids, and then the non-academic kids, which I think there's always been a level of sort of differentiation anyway. But I think because there were so many options available back then, there wasn't much pressure. And one of the things that I've actually noticed over the last sort of 20 years or so is the level of pressure on kids nowadays it's incredibly awful, because they've got peer pressure, they've got social media pressure, they've got the academia pressure with the GCSEs, because actually it's no good just getting Bs anymore or As. You have to get A stars if university is the route you're going to go down. And if you want to get into one of the better universities, then you have to have all A stars. So how do you help relieve that pressure off the kids that you teach?
So, I mean, I think the penny dropped for me back in 2017. And I remember one of our tutors at Spark sort of came out very quickly. She goes, Mital, we've got a situation. And there was a young child in year 6. And he was in a flood of tears. And I was like, okay, what's happened? Is everything okay? And he said, I'm not good enough. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, my teacher at school said I won't be able to get a level, this, because I'm not good enough at maths. Or, I really want to do well, I really do, but I'm a failure. This was a child in year 6, probably something I would expect from a GCSE student, because I've heard that a lot. But from a child who's like 10, I mean, that was upsetting. And I remember there's a lot of pressure that's going on in schools. Teachers are under an immense amount of pressure that trickles down. The students can feel it. Parents are under pressure. So this is a highly sort of pressurized situation that everyone's in, actually. So what we do as part of our program is that we have a well-being aspect. So what we do is we teach transformative life skills. So one aspect is how to develop your self-resilience, your self-awareness, your emotional awareness, which is really, really important. We talk about the different types of motivation. We do different types of exercises, breathing exercises to help you sort of channel in to yourself, also relieve any anxiety and those kind of feelings. So it's we do those classes, and we do them completely complementary for our kids and for the parents, because that's something that, it's our gift. It's to say, look, guys, these are the tools and techniques you can use in your everyday life to help you. How do you deal with exam pressure? How do you deal with a knockback? If you get told, because you will get told in life, unfortunately, we do not live in a perfect world, but how do you deal with a knockback? And I can resonate with that personally, because I believe that, when I was younger, when I was 16, I got knocked back quite a bit, throughout my secondary school experience, but my resilience was quite high then. But when I went into college, I got knocked back really badly, and my resilience dropped. And that really affected my education when I was in sixth form. So it's about, how do you handle that situation? How do you notice if you're starting to feel really upset, and that's more common? What do you do? So that's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I think schools need to do more of, and I know they do. I think it just needs to be really well embedded within the curriculum. It needs to be well embedded within teaching practices and the lessons. So why don't we all start off the lesson with, breathing techniques? Or why don't we, do certain techniques to help us focus in on our concentration and help us build better memory, that sort of thing. It's little things like this that I feel that could really help in mainstream education.
So with that, sorry, there's a bit of an echo going on. So with that, we're talking about sort of like helping in mainstream education. Is this something that you're hoping to do in terms of talking sort of like, to sort of like the powers that be, to see how they can incorporate the methodology that you're using within their schools? Is this something that you would look at?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking to partner with many schools with regards to this. And also, what I find is that a lot of the well-being stuff can be a tick box activity, and it's sort of separate. It's seen as separate to the academic. So we'll focus in on academic, then we'll focus in on well-being, when actually it needs to be both. They need to be married. So we're very keen to work with schools in that respect. But I know that schools are under immense pressure right now. I mean, teachers, hats off to you guys. You're doing an amazing job in schools right now. Head teachers trying to keep it all together. I feel that probably in a year and a half's time, when things are sort of a bit more calmer, I think, schools will be a little bit more ready to sort of embrace changes in education, and start planning for long-term curriculum planning, essentially. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. So let me just go to a few of the comments we've had, and then we'll go, because I do want to talk to you about technology in education and how COVID has impacted it. So we've had Chandra saying spirituality and methodology sounds like a perfect combination, but I think your business is aptly named. You have the spark that you imbibe into your students and clients. And he's also asking, what impact will COVID have on the pupils long term, effectively having had a year of unusual circumstances? So we'll put a hold on that, and we'll come to that in a minute. Mina's saying, I agree with you, Mital. It is really important to deal with the foundations, help build that mental and emotional strength within children. And she's also saying, yes, schools do need to embed more mindfulness strategies right from nursery up to universities. So let's go back to this question, because this is the one thing that has been in the press, across social media. Parents have been talking about oh my God, we're homeschooling, how do we do it? And they're having too much screen time, and I don't think they're learning. What are your thoughts on the on the very unusual circumstances we've been living under?
I think the kids that have gone through this, right, they have built up their resilience. They're super adaptable. And I keep saying this to them. I'm like, you guys are actually amazing. You guys are going to be able to take on any challenge long term, because yes, they've gone through schooling and it's absolutely unusual, and it's been incredibly difficult. That transition, I remember when we went online straight away. There was no break in our services at all. And our kids adapted very, very quickly. And I think as well, it wasn't easy for schools. Every teacher had their own individual circumstances going on at home. So it took some schools a long time to sort of get up to speed with the online learning. So there's a little bit of disparity. There are some children who've had online learning right from the beginning, from last March. And then there are some kids who had essentially 3 months or 4 months without any online learning. And then, so you've got this complete mix. And then you've got kids who go to private school who had pretty much online learning every single day. So it's a really strange situation to be in. What is worrying, obviously, we know that there's lots of research to say that when you've got children that are on the summer holidays, they suffer something called the summer learning loss. And they say that it puts kids back by I think it's about 2 months. Now, if you've had a 3-month gap in their learning, right, there's a heck of a lot of a gap to sort of fill in. You're looking about sort of 8 months. I think there was a report done by McKinsey that talked about, and that report came out in December 2020, and they said I think it's going to be about a 12-month gap to fill. Now, this does sound scary, but at the same time, I think kids are like sponges. I think once they get back in, and once they get back into that situation of learning face-to-face, that would be great. But I also think it will be a missed opportunity if schools don't combine the sort of blended learn, the online with the face-to-face, because actually that's very powerful in terms of catch-up learning, so bridging that gap. So yes, there is a gap. But should it be scary? Should it put any fear and anxiety into the parents? No, absolutely not. There is support available.
That's actually, because I was going to sort of like say, it's we look, okay, there are some groups of parents who will be able to afford, a service such as yourselves. What about those parents who, obviously with COVID, with maybe they were furloughed, maybe one of them's lost the job, they don't have the income, and their children have had to be homeschooled for the last year and a bit. What advice would you have for those groups of parents who may be worried about their children, having had that gap? What can they do to maybe bridge that gap if they can't afford, an online tutoring service, let's say?
Absolutely. I think, there's loads of things that you could do at home. For example, if you get sort of revision guides, right? And you could just build out a process. So if you've got a revision guide, and you might be able to watch video tutorials online, you can make your notes using both those mediums. Then you could try downloading questions from online. So you've got like exam questions by topic you can have, and then you can mark your own. I always say to the kids, it's really important to mark your own questions and using the mark scheme, obviously an exam mark scheme, because it helps you to think like an examiner. You're building that mindset in. So it's about small habits that you could do daily. It might mean that I always say to students, when you're doing revision, stick to sort of a 20-minute window when you're revising, 5-minute brain break. So you have a 5-minute brain break, and in that brain break, you sort of walk around, you become a bit more active, you hydrate, and then you get back onto another 20-minute slot, 5-minute break, another 20-minute slot, and then you have a 10-minute break or a half an hour break, and then you move back on again. So it's things like that in terms of time management, having a timetable in place, having the correct resources available. So you could go online, you could use BBC Bite Size, for example. You could get CGP revision books, which are really great in terms of breaking down content. YouTube video tutorials, that can also help. And you can go on websites with exam questions on it too.
And what can those parents do with mindfulness? Because obviously, I completely agree with you, because I look at it sort of, I will wake up in the morning and I'll do all of my mantras and meditation, because this has just been something that's been instilled in me, from birth, because I've always seen my mum doing her pujas, and I will do my pujas. But what about those families who, like I say, the schools may not be doing anything with mindfulness? What can they do for themselves and the children at home to actually get the children sort of like into that mindset of expanding their mind to then be able to be open to learn more?
Mindfulness is a habit, and it should be sort of practiced by everybody in the home. So, mindfulness, wellness. For example, when you're sitting down to eat, before you eat, you could do a breathing exercise, or you could do something where you're thankful. You express your gratitude to something. Each one of you can do that. Obviously, gratitude really raises your vibration. It's really great. It's really good for you. Also, whilst you're around the dinner table, talking about each other's day is so important. Asking questions, and it's okay to air out that I've had a really terrible day today. Not making it making it a taboo, or you don't talk about things that are bad. Actually, we need to sometimes air out something that's upset us, or it's about creating that atmosphere where it's okay not to be okay. But hey, I'm glad that you've expressed that. And how about working through X, Y, and Z? So having open and honest conversations are really important, and sort of facilitating that is important. Even to the point where, having doing meditations together. And a lot of kids kind of sort of steer away from meditation because they think they're going to just sit there for half an hour and just stay quiet. But actually, really quick 2 or 3 minute meditations that you could do together as a family, and that really helps as well. So, and I know that there are loads of people out there who offer mindfulness help as well, and meditation. I mean, I don't know if Mina is still online, but Mina does that. She does a lot of wellness and mindfulness sessions that she does for free online. And so you can actually, you can find that sort of content in loads of places as well.
And I suppose it's about sort of like opening yourself up to embrace that actually mindfulness isn't about sitting in white clothes, ringing bells, shouting on all the time. It's about, mindfulness, for me as sort of like as an NLP master practitioner, what I will say for me, mindfulness is about when you're doing something, focus fully on what you're doing. That is also mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going for a walk, just focus on the walk. And it's about, like we say, it's about educating, sort of like I suppose the parents who may not have access to maybe the network of people that some parents have, and it's finding a way for them. So we've had Shivali Shuklamoda joining us, saying children are incredibly resilient. They are learning all the time, even when we think they are just playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning through play is awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've had a few other people joining us. So we've had Thanki joining us. And like I say, if people are watching from LinkedIn and YouTube, if you could just put some comments in there so we know that you're with us, and we know where you're watching from. Because I'm unable to see who's watching from LinkedIn or YouTube unless you put some comments in. But going back to you, we were talking about blended learning, and we were sort of like talking about tech ed as well. So could you just explain a little bit more about the whole concept behind that, please?
Yeah, so blended learning is essentially a blend of face-to-face traditional teaching methods and online teaching methods. So over the past year, right, what's happened is it's all had to go online. So before it was face-to-face, traditional, and now it's all had to go online. So a blend is where you use elements of online and elements of face-to-face and traditional teaching-based practices, which I think and I believe is the future. I mean, I've undergone, as a student, when I was doing my MBA, I went through a blended learning program. And oh my gosh, I can't explain how amazing that was, because I got to cover certain things in my own time. And the most difficult things I got to spend time with my tutors to do. So we had master classes where we got that tutor time. We had seminar weekends and things like that. And I see education in schools moving towards this way. I mean, top companies are predicting that, within 10 years, schools will be using a blended learning methodology, and they'll be forming policies in place. So it is the future, and especially with all the amount of catch up to do, it's going to be impossible for every child to have one-to-one tuition or have one-to-one sort of teaching. It's not possible. There's a lot for the kids to catch up. The way that we are able to do that is by utilizing technology to make sure that the teacher, through technology, can come into their homes, and come into a child's home and actually learn from some software. You could use AI, so artificial intelligence, that will really help kids better their maths, better their English, their vocabulary, their sentence structures, that sort of thing. For the most simple things, you don't need a human teacher to teach your child. Why can't a computer do that? There's all these possibilities in place, and I think that is the way of the future when it comes to education. A teacher should be there to help children solve the most complex problems. The teacher should be there to help a child develop their emotional intelligence. That's that's not even covered in our curriculum. It should be, because that's what's going to make a human different from a robot. That emotional intelligence and robotics and all of that sort of stuff is the future, unfortunately. So we need to get our kids future ready. And unfortunately, the education system, as it stands right now, served children in the Industrial Revolution age. Yeah, definitely. But it doesn't help our kids for the future now.
Yeah, and it's everything. It's all about evolving, isn't it? Everything in life is evolving, and if in the corporate world we're evolving to have blended working, where a lot of us can work. So the business that me and my sister have, and my other sister with her own business as well, we can work from anywhere in the world because we just need our laptops and good internet connectivity. And actually more and more offices have realised that actually this is the way forward for the future, because you don't have to spend time and money and resources having big offices for people to go into and forcing people, and you can be far more productive. So actually, if we can educate children now within the blended learning or blended living methodology, then that means that we will have corporate ready students.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like, going on from that, because you, Mital, I mean, obviously, you started this in 2009, you final year at uni, and Spark Academy has grown from strength to strength. So how many tutors have you got in place now?
There's about 7 of us.
Yeah,
working full time with the kids.
Yeah, amazing, and that is amazing. And you have also won a number of awards. So you've won sort of the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce or the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards a few years in a row, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm very fortunate. Yeah, very lucky.
I don't think luck has anything to do with it, Mital. That's you being very, very humble there. I think it's the fact that you've got an innovative business model, and your drive, passion, enthusiasm is the reason. So,
it's my team. Honestly, to be honest with you, it's a combination of a very, very strong team that I have. They've got a lot of willpower. They really believe in, they embody the values. They're the ones who are displaying it every single day. They're the ones who go above and beyond for the kids. So essentially, it's them, and it's our kids who embrace it, who follow the methodology, who showcase every day that they've got something in them, and they can rise to any challenge. So yeah, I always say the awards are for them, and it's because of them. Genuinely is.
Do you know what? Spoken like a truly altruistic leader. Because actually, for me, the best leaders are the ones who will always share the accolades, and that's and I think that's probably one of the reasons why the success is growing for you, because you also had was it the Leicester MBA award as well? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that one was a very personal award, actually. So I mean, I mentioned before that when I was 16, I had a bit of a knockback, and I turned a little bit naughty, and I just didn't want to go back to college. And what happened was, I had one teacher who turned around and told me that I wasn't good enough to get a D, let alone an A. And he was a chemistry teacher of mine. And there was a point where, you're 16, you've just joined sixth form, you're trying to fit in, and you're trying to be, you're just trying to figure out who you are. Yeah. And then I think I was finding college incredibly hard. I didn't like the college that I was in. I was really struggling with it. And I remember asking that teacher for help. And then when he said that to me, you're not good enough to get a D, let alone an A, I was just like, all right, then. I accepted it, which is what I was not in a good place. And then to have to just sort of accepted that was a bit like out of character, but it happened, and it meant that, I started to play truant. My parents didn't know what to do with me, because up till GCSE, I was, high performing, very much driven to do well. I loved school. And then to see this 360 shift in their child they just didn't know what to do. Now knowing what I know, I think, okay, I needed help at that time, because it was just a downward spiral from that point. Not turning up to school, not turning up, not doing my work, really falling out of love with anything to do with school. And so I remember I had to then move colleges. I still stuck with the subjects, the typical subjects, the biology, the chemistry, the maths. So I still stuck with them for A-level. But when I switched colleges, I met the most inspirational teacher, Rupa. Honestly, she was my chemistry teacher. I was so apprehensive about this in the first place. Her name was Anne. Yeah. I'm still in touch with her to this day. And she was just so amazing. She just broke chemistry down for me. She made me fall in love with it. So much so that I decided to teach chemistry. That's what I specialize in. I teach chemistry A-level. And honestly, she changed everything for me. And I just realized at that moment, if every teacher was as supportive as, in a teacher way, loving towards her students, I thought, gosh, you know what? You'd be able to change so many kids' lives. Yeah. And that's when I decided I wanted to teach, and in particular, teach A-level chemistry. And, I think that's I forgot what our original question was, Rupa, because I think I've gone off on a tangent. But I think that
we were talking about the MBA award. Sorry.
Yeah. So that was it. Oh, so that's the reason why this MBA award was so important to me, because I went through this journey of feeling like I wasn't good enough. And although I got great A-level results, and although I then got on to do my undergrad, my undergrad was okay. Did I enjoy it? Probably not. I didn't enjoy it, but I just did it because I wanted to get into teaching. But at the back of my mind, I hadn't worked through the not good enough bit. Although I did the rest, it was from the top. It was very surface level. But actually, that really affected me. Or being someone who's a perfectionist, I'm working on that, but being a perfectionist and being told that was quite difficult. Yeah. So then I decided that it was about 2017, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, mate, why don't you have a go at the MBA? Why don't you do it? You're doing business. You might as well do it." And I just sort of thought, actually, there's only so much your entrepreneurial spirit can take you in life. There's only so much of that you can utilize. Actually, I wanted to grow my business. And it's not growing your business just for the sake of. In my lifetime, I want to be able to touch the lives of at least a million children. That's what I want to do, because I know that there are so many kids out there that can benefit from not just our services, but from other things that we'll do. I know that. So that's why I decided to do the MBA. Now, Rupa, that was a very scary process for me, because at the back of my mind, it was, are you good enough though? Yeah. Can you do it? Will you actually pass this? Will you be able to get through this? Right? And that was this niggling feeling. But then I had to tell the ego to just quieten down for a second, and I had to come out myself and tune into my high self. And I really decided, no, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do this MBA. And the first thing that was great was actually getting a distinction after about 2.5 years of hardly see. I live in the same house as my family, and actually I never saw them for 2.5 years, to be fair. It's constantly like working and doing my MBA. But getting that distinction was the biggest achievement for me. It was like, yes, I've done it. But then Leicester contacted me and they said, right, we're nominating you. And I said, for what? They're like, well, it's a global MBA award. So it's from all of the AMBER accredited universities across the world. We're just gonna try it. Let's just put you in for the MBA Student of the Year award. I was like, oh, felt very flattered at that point. Because really, I took so much from the MBA. It grew my confidence. It helped me build my resilience. It helped me see, appreciate and understand different cultures from around the world, helped me network. It helped me build so many strong relationships within. I mean, we've got people we know across the globe. It's absolutely fantastic. We've got this great community. So for me, I felt like I got everything I needed from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, being nominated was great. And then in January, end of January, the award ceremony occurred, and I found out that I won this global award. And I remember when they actually read out the winner, after I said my speech, I actually bawled my eyes out afterwards, because I literally felt like my journey as a student came full circle. I knew always I could teach. I knew I could always empathize with my students. But could I be that? Could I be the student that I really wanted to be? Could I do that? I just felt that came around full circle, and that's now chapter closed. And I feel like, tick, that's done now. So
yeah, that's amazing, and it's still, for me that's just beautiful, and it's so nice. We've had my comments saying, Shivali's saying Mital is being humble from what you said earlier, and she's also saying she is the spark that lights a fire in everyone she meets. Teachers, students, and parents, and I can very well believe that. And is saying, we are so proud of you, Mital. We've also had, we've had a few more people joining us. We've had Priti Thakrar joining us, Raksha Moda has joined us, Devyani Singh is watching with us, Sushila Desai. We've had so many people. We're getting like quite a few likes and love hearts and smiley faces, and like that in terms of winning the MBA award. I mean, I think winning the East Midlands Chamber Business Awards, because you won them for sort of like, what was it, the entrepreneur and
entrepreneur, small business, and also won the best digital improvement in a business in 2020. So we won that. That was a huge. That award genuinely, honestly, belonged to the teachers at Spark and our students, because the teachers at Spark, honestly, they learned how to code assessments. We all learned how to code assessments in 6 weeks. We learned coding. And that, honestly, such a massive achievement. People probably think, oh, okay, it's just coding in assessments. It was a massive task, a massive job. And, one that had taken about sort of, I'd say, it's kind of finishing now in February. Well, it kind of finished in February, the coding test did, but they had to learn that skill within 6 weeks. I mean, that's phenomenal. Our students had to learn how to use a platform like almost straight away. I mean, that just shows the power of kids, what they're able to do. They've got this immense power in them to just adapt to any situation, and that award proved it.
And do you know what? I completely agree with you. The kids are really resilient. They are like zombies, but they need the right nurturing around them. So it's, and I think you are being really, really humble on this. But at the end of the day, your teachers, you've got an amazing group of teachers, but actually they're being led by someone, by you, which I think also gets them, up and going. And actually your children that you're teaching are very lucky to have the group of teachers they've got, because you are embracing everything about them. Now, if we could replicate, like you said, if we could replicate what you're doing at Spark across all the schools, then that would actually make that teacher, that chemistry teacher that told you weren't good enough, that would make that person obsolete. Because this is the thing that teachers really don't understand. Even like the slightest off-the-cuff remark can have the most profound effects, both positive and negative, on the student they're talking to. And that could really make the difference between success or failure for that child, or happiness or unhappiness for that child.
Absolutely. And I think, what was striking for me is that, my story isn't remarkable in any way. It's happened to so many people that I know.
Yeah.
And I was just shocked by it. At the same time, I can see the other side of the coin now. I think, right, that teacher, the one who told me I wasn't good enough, he was about sort of ranging on to the end of his career. He's probably taught thousands of kids. He must have, who knows, he must have had a really terrible day that day. And I must have triggered him in some way or form, must have done something to annoy him. But at the same time, I think he had a position of responsibility.
Yeah.
He was the elder one. He needed to understand that, those words are so damaging. They're so damaging. And it's not just myself who's experienced that, it's other people. But on the other side, there's only about, I'd say, 2% of teachers out there who are like that. The rest are phenomenal. They love what they do. It's like with any profession that you have, you've always got the good eggs and then you've got the bad, right? But those words those words were critically they were harmful. They were terrible. And I think, unfortunately, I still see kids to this day going through that. And that upsets me. That annoys me.
And I can fully understand that. So we've also had Mital joining us, and Nikhil has said it's so heartwarming to hear Mital's own story and how she has turned it around to help and support so many children, making something negative into something so positive. And that's true as well, because, the fact that it did profoundly affect you, it did maybe steer you off course, but at the same time, it's also allowed you to maybe reflect on it. And you push through it because you had that resilience within you, and you're now working to actually build that resilience up in kids and being a voice for those kids who may not have that inner resilience themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can see it, Rupa, you can spot it a mile away. I can see it, I can hear it in their voices. Certain things that they may say to me, the language that they use, I'm like, right, I need to get on the phone to them, we're going to make a private call their home, and I'm going to talk to parents, and we're going to set up an appointment, because I can see straight away that there are these signs that we need to sort of catch it right at the very beginning, so then that way it doesn't fester, it doesn't build into something with great meaning.
Yeah.
Because when there's great meaning attached to it, it becomes a thing. And then it's harder to detach away from it. So it's trying to nip it in the bud in the earlier cases. But it's so important that that we build well-being, resilience, self-awareness, all of that, and embed it within our day-to-day teaching practices in schools. That's essential. And I think the thing that gets missed out a lot is the well-being of the teachers, because it's all well and good teaching well-being, it's all well and good doing all of those things, but if you're not practicing it yourself, actually, you got to remember, as a teacher, you are there to guide, right? You're there to set an example. Kids see you as role models, so you too have to embrace that. And that's why I really believe that senior leadership teams in schools, they need to drive this well-being philosophy within their HR policies and the way that they train their teachers as well, for their own benefit.
100%. And it is leading by example, and it is sort of like it's sort of one step at a time. Now, here's the thing. So Jay has we've had Kirit Moda joining us. He said, so proud of you, Mital. We've had Jay Patel joining us all the way from the USA. Hey, Jay. So here's the thing, because we're talking about sort of like taking this model further. Now you've got another really exciting development that is happening, a collaboration that you're doing with the Tata group of companies, which for those watching, Tata is one of like the biggest corporations in the world. So this is like a phenomenally exciting collaboration. Are you able to tell us like a snippet of what you're going to be doing with them?
Absolutely. So over the pandemic, we went online, we went quickly online, but I was on the hunt for a really great platform. And essentially, Tata's got Tata's digital platform in India is huge. The ION platform is massive out there. It's used in America, it's used around the world, and they're really ahead in terms of the reporting, the functionalities for the teachers. Amazing that actually, Rupa, you're able to see your your students' progress in real time. Gone are the days where you have to update a spreadsheet and then analyze the data. It does it all for you. Parents can log into this platform and they're able to listen to voice feedback from their tutors, actually read reports about their child whenever they want. They don't have to wait until a parents' evening or the end of a term to know how their child's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, this platform has got amazing features, and I was so excited when I saw it. I was like, wow, this is what schools need. They need this because of this. But if it got changed, if it was changed like this, and if that was moved there, or if there was another back report here, then that would be great for schools. And I think because I went in there with the intention to obviously use it for Spark, which we are. But then I think because I was so enthusiastic about it, they said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this partnership? And it was like, wow, okay. So now we're taking this platform with our resources, our program of learning. So that includes our well-being, our academic programs of learning. That combined with the platform, we want to take that into UK-based schools so that parents, teachers, and students can utilize that. And also with the resources and the platform. So I know you were asking, Rupa, before, what can parents do at home? Those that may not be able to access tutoring, what can they do? Well, essentially, this is where we want to form connections with schools. We want to say that, hey, look, we're going to give you all of our video tutorials. We're going to give you all of our structured materials. So every child in that school, despite what their socio-economic background is, every child has an equal opportunity to do better and to progress and catch up in their learning. So that's where we're coming from. And that's why I keep saying I really want to make sure that whatever we do, whichever service it is, I want to make sure I touch, and change the lives of children. And especially through this pandemic, there are kids who require that. Okay, our video tutorials have all the up-to-date material. You've got a teacher at the end of it who's actually going through, school-based methods. It's the next best thing to having a tutor. So why not embrace that? And essentially, that's what we want to do. And we're finding some great schools to work with, great visionary schools who really believe that there is going to be a blend in learning. I think the schools who kind of discount it are going to be left behind. Unfortunately, it's the schools that are forward thinking. And who really believe in the power of technology will begin to utilize it.
It just sounds amazing because it sounds like it's going to be, it's a platform that allows you to be both proactive and reactive, but really in the right way.
Yeah. And parents are able to utilize it. They're able to find out how their kids are doing at any time. Well, it should be like that. We're in the 21st century. That's how it should be. You shouldn't have to wait a whole term. And it's a great way to increase the communication lines between the teachers, the parents, and the students. It's nice for students to hear what their teachers have to say about them. On a regular basis. So in terms of feedback, instead of writing a long report, why not hear what the teacher has to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or why not watch what the teacher has to say? Make it a little bit different. And essentially it's about trying to bring these extra opportunities for kids at home. And we've also got these like tablets that students can utilize. So how obviously that there are some children out there who are unable to use computers because they don't have the internet, and that's become a lot more apparent during this year. I think that was very shocking. So there is the availability of a tablet that you can utilize and still do your work on via the platform without using internet. So you don't need to have the internet to do your online assessments, to do any of that. So that's what I'm saying. Schools need to embrace this because it's going to change not only their teachers' lives, it's going to help them with their efficiencies, help them become more productive. Teachers don't have to sit there for hours marking. It's soul destroying sometimes. Teachers should only be marking long answer questions, things that require complexity, something that requires a lot more. They shouldn't be marking one marker questions, because that's a waste of time. A computer can do that. So let the computer do that. And why doesn't the teacher then mark an essay, the thing that requires more human input? So it's about saving teachers time, helping them become happier, fall in love with their jobs again, really just focusing on their students and understand their students with real-time reporting and data. So essentially that's where we are with that.
That is really exciting, and it is very much a case of watch this space, because it sounds so amazing, because it sounds like I said, more proactive, reactive, but a collaborative approach, which means students take responsibility, the teachers take their side of responsibility, but parents also, and hopefully we can then create the next generation of, I suppose, skills that are needed in the UK.
Absolutely.
Generate the next generation of nurses, doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, accountants, and actually, generate the next level of entrepreneurs, or people who want to go into plumbing or carpentry, because those are also really honourable skills.
Absolutely.
And, jobs to go into.
Absolutely. And another thing that the platform can do is that you can learn coding on that one platform. You don't need multiple softwares to learn coding. You can do it all on that one platform. And actually, coding is a skill that all the youngsters now are able to do. I mean, I'm amazed by that. I'm just like, wow, this is phenomenal. They've got so many great skills. But moving on to the plumbing and the trades, I highly advocate that. I mean, trades are amazing. If I had a child, if my child turned around and said to me, I want to become a plumber, I'd be like, go for it, because if it's something you enjoy. You don't really ever see an unwealthy plumber. There's plumbers make good money, so and I'd be happy with that. And I think it's really important that children choose a path that they're passionate about. But as long as they've got the foundations that they need to help them become future ready, having those skills are really important.
No, absolutely. Mital, honestly, I mean, we've gone slightly over the hour that I said we would be, but it's been so fascinating talking to you. We've had, Shalia's given us a few more comments. So she goes, I can vouch for this amazing technology and the way Spark has implemented it. And she said, I can keep on top of my daughter's learning, even though I work long hours full time. So, that is an endorsement for what, the technology.
Oh, thank you.
So, it's so exciting. Like I said, Dada is like one of the biggest organisations in the world. So, just keeping everything, sending you lots of positive vibes for that, because that is amazing. And, I think, everybody that knows you will say the same thing, that, just so inspired by you, because you are making a difference to the younger generation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you to everybody that's been on the journey with me and continue to be on the journey with me. I think you can never do anything by yourself. You always need a tribe of people around you. So just want to take this opportunity to say thank you, Rupa, for giving me this platform to talk about what I do. And thank you to everybody for your continual support. I can never do anything without you guys. So thank you.
Oh, no, Mital, honestly, it was my absolute pleasure, and thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to talk to me, because, I can honestly say I've literally been smiling all the way through this conversation, because, it has really, really inspired me. So, thank you. So what final words have you got for anybody sort of like watching? What final words of inspiration have you got for people?
I have two. There's two things that I live by, which is faith and patience. Never stop having that faith in yourself. And sometimes you just got to be a little patient to get to where you want to be, but never lose that faith ever.
Amazing. Mital, thank you so much. And, hopefully we will have you back on again in a few months. We'll be talking about a slightly different subject area. We will let people know nearer the time. But Mital, have a wonderful Mother's Day with your family.
Thank you very much.
Happy Mother's Day to you as a teacher. You are nurturing those kids. Happy Mother's Day to you. And thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
I will let you go. Thanks, Mital.
Cheers.
Bye. Wow, gosh, I mean, what can I say about Mital? Like, I literally am gushing over her. I'm just so impressed with what she's doing, how she's working, and honestly, just go and check her out. Actually, one thing I did forget to ask her is her social media handles, but I will put them into the comments. But her, the company is Spark Academy. And do check them out. Have a look. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, and LinkedIn. Mital is also on LinkedIn, so I will share her social media handles. Thank you to Mital again. Right, so next week, as you know, sort of like every third Sunday in the month, I dedicate my time to HLH TV. So next week, there won't be a double 15 minutes. I will be back on double 15 minutes on the 28th of March, but next week I'll be over on HLH TV, so Healing Little Hearts. So please go over to their page on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn and YouTube, subscribe, and subscribe to the HLH TV as well. So yeah, I'll be on there next week talking to I'll explain it all in social media going on, but yeah, the double 15 minutes next week. But I will be back on the 28th of March, where I will be talking to Saurav Dutt and Nilo Majaria, who Saurav is an author of a new book that has been released, but I'll talk about that more later at the time. But until then, everybody, happy Mother's Day to you all. Enjoy your days, whatever you're doing today, and I will see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.